you for your purchase of Foley United's AccuSharp 605 Spin Relief Reel Grinder. This presentation will assist you in learning how to operate this piece of equipment so your quality of cut can be its best and you minimize your potential for cutting system issues. Please read the manual before operating the machine and follow all safety instructions, and never bypass the safety switches on the front and rear doors. To begin, let's look at the accessories you have with the machine and look at the layout of the control panel. You have received two grinding wheels, a wide stone for spin and a narrow stone for relief. The removable auto-index relief mechanism is used when going from spin to relief. Chain vice grips to secure the rear roller to the mounting bar. The dial indicator gauge is used to properly align the reel. The center points can be used for placement of the reel within the bed bar hole. Or these centers can be used for the bed knives if using the bed knife attachment kit. Rear V-blocks are used to position the rear roller of the reel into the machine. A spreader bar for lifting the reel into the machine. There is a spin drive coupler. And lastly, there is a walking greens mower attachment bracket. This is used for walking greens mowers and allows you the flexibility of a much easier setup. Now, let's look at the control panel. There is the green main power button to turn the machine on, a red emergency stop switch, a switch to turn the grinding wheel on and off, a grinding head traverse switch, a switch that turns the spin drive on and off, a spin speed potentiometer, a traverse speed potentiometer so you can control how fast you want to traverse, a relief torque potentiometer, a directional toggle switch for the spin drive, and lastly, a spin relief mode switch in which you choose your grinding mode. To get started, the first thing you'll need to do is determine where to position the reel in the machine. For 95% of the reels a course is likely to do, the operator simply places the rear roller of the reel into the V-blocks on the rear support mounting bar. Use the chain vice grips to secure the rear roller around the bar. Then, connect the overhead clamping arms to secure the reel by the front roller or the frame. You can use the large or small clamp lips on the overhead arms to connect to the roller or somewhere else on the frame. Or, as an alternative method, you can remove the clamp lips from the overhead arms, turn the overhead arm 90 degrees so the hole in the arms is vertical, then attach directly to the frame by either a nut that can be loosened and reinstalled with the arm, or by installing a bolt to connect the overhead arm directly to the frame. Next, you want to properly lean the reel into the machine in a position that assures clearance of the stone with the frame, the front roller, and the blade above the one you are relieving when you change to the relief grind. Before proceeding to the alignment process, make sure the rear roller is secured and all overhead clamping is tight with the exception of the left-hand overhead adjuster. Now you are ready to align the reel. Loosen the lock handles of the adjusting block on the left side of the machine and install the dial indicator gauge on the grinding motor carriage. Use the traverse engagement lever to manually move the carriage from side to side. Position the carriage to the right-hand side of the reel and raise or lower the gauge bar, allowing it to slide and slightly touch the top of the reel shaft. Pull out and move to the left side of the reel to level the reel perfectly into a horizontal position. Use the upper horizontal hand wheel on the adjusting block to level the reel shaft, slightly overcompensating to close the gap between the gauge bar and the reel shaft. This will aid in speeding up the process. Take the carriage back to the right-hand side and readjust the gauge bar to slightly touch the reel shaft. Then repeat the leveling process until the reel shaft is horizontal and level. Next, move the carriage to the right and position the gauge bar to a perpendicular and center position on the reel shaft. Allow the spring-loaded block assembly to travel and push the dial indicator gauge shaft half its travel, so the small dial is on a whole number. Then lock it in position with the T-knob. Rotate the outside dial to set the gauge to 0 and note the position of the smaller dial on the gauge. Pull the bar out and move the carriage to the left. Allow the bar to travel into the shaft. Look at the gauge and using the vertical adjusting hand wheel, adjust the reel position, overcompensating if needed, until the gauge reads 0 on either end of the reel. Lock the left hand overhead arm and relock the handles at the adjusting block. Once you know how to read the gauge, this process should take no more than 2 to 3 adjustments. Remove the dial indicator gauge, connect the spin drive with the spin drive assembly coupler. Turn on the traverse switch, and while still freely moving the carriage by hand, position the grinding wheel to clear the reel blades. Then set the proximity switches by moving them under the carriage until they light up. Center the grinding head carriage to the reel. Loosen the lock handles to position the grinding head where the axis of the grinding wheel shaft is perpendicular to 1/2 inch below the reel shaft. Make sure the lock handles are retightened. Re-engage the carriage with the traverse engagement lever for auto traverse. In-feed the grinding wheel to light contact on the reel blade and back off slightly. Close the doors, and with the spin drive selector switch in spin mode and the spin direction toggle switch in the clockwise position, turn on the spin drive and grinding wheel. Turn the traverse speed pot up and begin travel. In-feed the grinding stone and begin the spin grinding process. Back off on the in-feed if needed to adjust for a tapered reel. Adjust the spin speed to aggressively grind, yet generating a smooth grind and a consistent sound. You will know if you're spinning too fast or too slow by the sound of the grind. Continue in-feeding until you have ground long enough for both ends of the reel to get sharp and develop a slight burr. Stop travel at the right-hand prox by turning the speed pot to 0 and turn off the grinding motor and spin drive. Back off the in-feed hand wheel, release the traverse engagement lever, and manually move the carriage to the right until it's off the reel. This will allow more room for transition to the relief mechanism. Remove the spin grind shield and remove the spin stone. Install the relief stone, and when putting on the relief mechanism, position the fixed finger up high and rotate down to enable the mechanism to clear the lock knob of the grinding wheel. Tighten the 2 T-knobs to lock the relief mechanism in place. Manually move the carriage back to the center of the reel and in-feed the stone to trap the blade between the stone and the fixed finger. Make sure you push the spring-loaded dowel behind the reel blade when trapping the blade. Raise or lower the grinding head to change to the desired relief angle. Make an adjustment to the dowel mechanism if needed to 1/16 to 1/32 of an inch free play behind the reel blade, making sure the blade is snug between the stone and the fixed relief finger. Back off the in-feed slightly, engage the traverse engagement lever, and travel left until the spring-loaded dowel pops forward and the stone barely comes off the reel blade. Reposition the left-hand prox until it lights up. Traverse the grinding head back to the right-hand prox, applying pressure on the reel blade to keep it on the fixed finger. Stop travel at the right when the stone clears the reel blade and the dowel is in position to catch the reel blade when it indexes. Reposition the right-hand prox until it lights up. Close the doors. Change from spin mode to relief mode. Put the spin direction toggle switch in the counterclockwise direction. Rotate the relief torque knob all the way down to 0 or the full counterclockwise position. Turn on the spin drive. Rotate the torque pot slowly until the blade indexes hard enough to push the dowel all the way back. Turn on the grinding wheel. Rotate the traverse pot and begin travel to the left. In-feed the grinding head and begin your relief grind process. After full rotation of all reel blades, Repeat the in-feed process until approximately 80% of the back of the reel is ground away, and there is approximately a 20% land area. Turn down the traverse pot, then turn off the grinding wheel and the spin drive. Before removing the reel, and once you have determined your reel position, you can measure or mark the overhead arm to note that position. The next time you bring that reel into grind, you can reference the marker measurement, and the setup positioning of the reel will be much easier and quicker. This concludes the training presentation on the Foley United AccuSharp 605. We appreciate your purchase, and feel free to visit our website at www.foleyunited.com for other products that can be used for maintenance on your golf course.